Have you ever imagined how a man of humble origins could become the pillar supporting the greatest empire of antiquity? Today, we will explore the journey of Marcus Vipsanius Agrippa, a brilliant strategist who shaped the destiny of Rome and the world. But make no mistake, although he is remembered as Octavian's right-hand man, Agrippa played a far greater role than merely supporting the future Emperor Augustus. Agrippa was not born into luxury, nor did he possess the prestige of a patrician family. However, his determination and keen insight quickly caught the attention of Gaius Octavius, the heir of the legendary Julius Caesar. Thus began a friendship that would change history. While Octavian inherited Caesar's name, Agrippa brought the strength of a general willing to sacrifice everything to defend his homeland. This young man's skill in military strategy soon put him on the radar of Rome's great figures. After all, in an era when power was contested at every corner, only someone with unwavering loyalty and a sharp mind could emerge among hungry wolves. And Agrippa did just that, becoming essential to every step Octavian took towards consolidating the empire. We are going to dive deep into every detail of this journey, from the early battles, through political intrigues, to the grand constructions that transformed the face of Rome. Prepare yourself for a journey through time, filled with victories, defeats, alliances, and decisions that shaped the course of history. But before we plunge into this incredible story, make sure you're subscribed to our channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos full of historical curiosities about ancient Rome. Could a simple student friendship have saved Rome from its most turbulent period? Let's find out now how Agrippa and Octavian became inseparable. Friendship forged in studies and chaos. The journey of Agrippa and Octavian begins in the home of a Greek philosopher named Apollonius of Rhodes. It was there, as teenagers, that they received lessons in literature, ethics, and rhetoric. Although Agrippa was of plebeian origin, that did not prevent him from standing out among young patricians. It is said that his discipline and interest in military life caught Octavian's attention. He needed a reliable ally amid the threats that multiplied after Julius Caesar's death. In debates, Agrippa demonstrated an ability for clarity and leadership, while Octavian learned to control his impulsiveness. Some say Octavian found in Agrippa the perfect counterbalance, someone who blended diplomacy with strength. And it was in this partnership that the future plans to reorganize the legions, the Senate, and ultimately Rome itself were born. As adults, the death of Julius Caesar in 44 BC catapulted both into the eye of the political storm. Octavian inherited the title and prestige, but Agrippa provided the military backbone. While many aristocrats turned against Octavian, Agrippa emerged as his loyal protector. From that moment on, the two would never part when it came to strategy and planning. The bond of trust between them proved essential for navigating the labyrinth of Roman politics. In an era where betrayals were common, Agrippa always stood firmly by Octavian's side. This steadfast loyalty was the cornerstone of their ascent in the unstable landscape that Rome faced. Want to know how Agrippa's first battle made all of Rome pay attention to this young commander? Read on. First tests by fire, the path to Modena. Agrippa faced his first significant military test in the so-called Battle of Modena, fought in 43 BC against Mark Antony. At that time, Rome was divided, and Octavian, although Caesar's heir, was still struggling to be recognized as a legitimate leader. Agrippa was tasked with coordinating the ground forces and, above all, ensuring that the troops remained disciplined. It is said that Agrippa's leadership style was inspiring. Even at a young age, he exuded confidence and knew how to motivate his soldiers with simple, direct, and above all, honest words. While many Roman generals adopted an arrogant stance, Agrippa understood that respect is earned by demonstrating courage and genuine care for his men. The victory at Modena was a crucial step for Octavian to begin building his legitimacy. With Mark Antony temporarily defeated, Agrippa's name began to echo through the corridors of power. Even without coming from a prestigious family, he won the army's sympathy and forged a fearsome reputation among his enemies. However, Modena did not resolve Rome's political tension. Mark Antony still held influence, and the civil war would continue, yet the flame of Octavian's ambition was ignited. He knew that without Agrippa, prevailing in the upcoming conflicts would be nearly impossible. How did Agrippa and Octavian maintain control of such a delicate political agreement alongside powerful figures? Prepare to learn about the intrigues of the Second Triumvirate. Political Ascent and the Second Triumvirate. Still in 43 BC, Octavian, Mark Antony, and Lepidus formed an alliance known as the Second Triumvirate. The idea was simple: unite forces to eliminate internal adversaries and reorganize power in Rome. In this arrangement, Agrippa emerged as an indispensable strategist alongside Octavian, maintaining security in Italy while Antony set off on campaigns in the east. Agrippa's role was vital on many fronts. He became responsible for quelling internal revolts and was the trusted man for every major military decision. The common people saw in Agrippa a defender, as he did not come from a wealthy aristocratic background. Meanwhile, the soldiers, accustomed to inflexible generals, viewed him as a just leader. During this period, tensions arose with Sextus Pompey, the son of the legendary Pompey the Great, who threatened Rome's grain supply by controlling maritime routes. Although a conflict with Pompey was inevitable, Agrippa first concentrated on consolidating security on the Italian peninsula. He reorganized barracks, reinforced walls, and began training a more robust naval fleet. This meticulous organization showed that Agrippa was not limited to the battlefield. He was also a skilled administrator. The trust between him and Octavian only grew, while Mark Antony, increasingly involved with Cleopatra, appeared to drift away from Rome's priorities. How did Agrippa transform the Roman navy from a mere supporting force into one that was feared? Let's find out in the saga against Sextus Pompey. Against Sextus Pompey, the master of the seas. Sextus Pompey controlled the regions of Sicily and part of the western Mediterranean, attacking ships that transported grain to Rome. Hunger plagued the streets of Rome, and the people blamed the lack of secure routes. Recognizing the gravity of the situation, Octavian entrusted Agrippa with the task of eliminating this threat. Agrippa completely restructured the fleet. It wasn't just about having more ships, but about perfecting naval tactics. He introduced boarding techniques and enhancements in ship design, making the vessels more versatile in turbulent seas. Soldiers were trained for close-quarters combat on enemy ships, adapting land combat methods to the maritime environment. The confrontation culminated in the Battle of Nauloco in 36 BC, where Agrippa finally faced Pompey directly. Although both sides had considerable fleets, Agrippa's tactical superiority made all the difference. His ships, more agile and better crewed, enveloped and disintegrated the enemy formations, creating chaos among Pompey's sailors. With Pompey defeated, the maritime routes were secured once again, and Rome once more received its grain supply. Agrippa's navy was now feared along the entire coast, and this victory further solidified Octavian's prestige, bringing him closer to the inevitable final clash with Mark Antony. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to face a fleet reinforced by the treasures and resources of Egypt? The time has come to see Agrippa face the most dangerous challenge of his career. The Great Battle of Actium, The decision against Antony and Cleopatra in 31 BC, with Rome's power divided between Octavian and Mark Antony, the noose tightened. Antony, supported by Cleopatra, assembled a large fleet off the western coast of Greece. What was at stake was not just control over Rome, but the future of the entire Mediterranean region. Without hesitation, Octavian appointed Agrippa to lead the Roman fleet. Before the battle, Agrippa was tasked with isolating Antony and Cleopatra, cutting off supplies and escape routes. His strategy was based on speed and the tactical positioning of ships, a skill he had mastered since his victory over Pompey. Moreover, he relied on the high morale of his soldiers, who placed complete trust in his command. On the decisive day, the Battle of Actium proved intense. Antony's ships were larger but slower. Agrippa led his forces like a conductor leading an orchestra. Each Roman ship had a specific role, methodically engaging the enemy fleet. When Cleopatra, fearing defeat, decided to retreat, Antony made the fatal mistake of following her, abandoning his forces. The victory at Actium sealed the fate of Mark Antony and Cleopatra, and also paved the way for Octavian to become Emperor Augustus. Speaking of which, have you ever wondered how this event shaped the destiny of an empire? Leave a like now, so we can keep bringing you such impactful stories. After so many battles, how did Agrippa and Octavian strengthen their bonds in the familial and political spheres? Let's find out next. Marriage to Julia and the consecration of the alliance. Victorious at Actium and with Mark Antony out of the picture, Octavian declared himself Emperor Augustus. At that point, to reward and further bind Agrippa to the imperial family, he offered his daughter Julia in marriage to Agrippa. This act, more than a gesture of friendship, was a shrewd political move to keep Agrippa close to power. Julia was renowned for her refined education and charismatic personality. She had fair skin, delicate features, and wore the finest Roman togas. The union between her and Agrippa was celebrated by both the people and the Senate, as it symbolized the continuity of a regime that had brought stability after decades of civil war. The marriage consolidated Agrippa's position as an effective member of the dynasty. He was no longer just the general, he was also the emperor's son-in-law and the father of potential heirs to the throne. This granted Agrippa greater freedom to administer and implement his visions of governance and urban development. At the same time, Julia found in Agrippa a balanced man who was not consumed by vanity. While others might have been overwhelmed by power, Agrippa maintained a humble demeanor. Perhaps this was one of the secrets that made him one of the most beloved allies, not only of Augustus, but also of the people. Do you think Agrippa's genius was confined to the battlefield? Get ready to discover how he also became the architect of a renewed city. A builder of modern Rome, public works, and urban landmarks. If there was one thing that set Agrippa apart beyond his military victories, it was his ability to plan and execute large-scale public works. He understood that Rome, to remain at the forefront of a vast empire, needed robust infrastructure. And so, he undertook the construction of vital aqueducts, such as the Aqua Julia and Aqua Virgo, to supply water. These aqueducts not only met daily consumption needs, but also enabled the creation of public baths and fountains, improving hygiene and health throughout the city. For a people accustomed to diseases spreading due to poor sanitation, this change was monumental. It is no wonder that Agrippa was often hailed in the streets as a benefactor. His most iconic project was the Pantheon, originally built by him to house statues of all the gods. Although the current version of the Pantheon is a later reconstruction, the original design of a circular temple with a dome and an imposing facade is credited to Agrippa's genius. This construction symbolized the harmony between earthly power and the blessing of the gods. Beyond these grand works, Agrippa also devoted himself to expanding public leisure spaces, such as gardens and baths. He believed that a satisfied and well-cared-for populace was the best foundation for a stable regime. Thus, while Augustus managed politics, Agrippa took care of the heart of the city, making Rome a model for the entire empire. Can you imagine that Agrippa would have to get his hands dirty to govern distant regions? Wait until you hear how he used his silver tongue more than his sword in the East. Missions in the East, the Diplomat and Peacemaker. Between 23 BC and 20 BC, Agrippa was sent to the East. Many believed he would embark on yet another military campaign, but to everyone's surprise, Agrippa's success came through diplomacy. He negotiated treaties and reorganized provinces without the need for extensive battles, earning the trust of the local elites. One of his most remarkable diplomatic victories was the recovery of the legionary eagles lost by Crassus decades earlier. In the wars against the Parthians, the humiliation of those losses was still felt by the Roman people, and regaining them meant restoring national pride. Agrippa played an active role in the negotiations, leaving Augustus as the great victor in the eyes of the Senate. The East was a complex region, filled with diverse cultures and palace intrigues. Yet Agrippa earned the respect of his soldiers and enjoyed the backing of Augustus to enforce orders when necessary. This balance between strength and dialogue allowed him to pacify revolts without having to raze entire cities, as was common in the past. At the end of this mission, Agrippa returned to Rome as a man whose name inspired trust. He had proven that, in addition to being an outstanding general, he possessed remarkable administrative and diplomatic talents. The East became more stable, and his reputation soared to new heights. Could all this prestige have sparked intrigue within Augustus's inner circle? Let's explore how Agrippa's final years unfolded and why his death left Rome in mourning. The final act, the last years, and the irreparable loss. With his triumphant return from the East, Agrippa consolidated his position at Augustus's court. He was appointed censor, one of the most powerful positions in Rome, serving alongside Augustus himself. In this role, Agrippa worked on socio-economic reforms, ranging from reorganizing taxes to distributing land to army veterans. However, Agrippa always maintained a discreet profile, avoiding actions that might be interpreted as a bid for power. This caution was crucial to prevent jealousy among the aristocracy and, above all, to preserve Augustus's confidence. Such loyalty was rewarded with even greater prestige and strategic responsibilities. Yet, in 12 BC, Agrippa suddenly passed away at the age of 51. Rome felt the blow deeply. The city was left without its tireless benefactor, and Augustus without his most loyal friend. There are accounts that Augustus said, "I do not know if I can govern without Agrippa." These words made clear the magnitude of the loss for the empire. The funeral was marked by honors reserved only for Rome's great men. His body was laid to rest in Augustus's mausoleum, a sign that he was considered an essential part of the imperial family. It was a farewell to the one who, in just a few years, rose from plebeian obscurity to carve his name into eternity. Do you want to know why, to this day, Agrippa is seen as one of the pillars in building Rome's greatness? It's time to understand the weight of his legacy. A legacy that transcends history. Agrippa left deep marks that go far beyond warfare. His public works continue to serve as shining examples of engineering and urban planning. The aqueducts he built have inspired generations of architects and engineers. The Pantheon, though rebuilt, still bears the inscription celebrating his original initiative. On the military front, the victories over Sextus Pompey and the Battle of Actium became paradigms of strategy, demonstrating how intelligence, and logistics can triumph over brute force alone. Many future Roman generals would seek to emulate Agrippa's model of organization, discipline, and loyalty. Politically, the way Agrippa balanced power and humility paved the way for Augustus to reign without major upheavals. He was instrumental in consolidating the Pax Romana as he pacified entire regions and laid the foundations for a stable government. To the people, Agrippa will always be remembered as the man who brought water to the streets and prosperity to households. In short, Agrippa is living proof that behind every great name there is always someone whose strength and talent sustain empires. And when we look at Rome, it is impossible not to see the reflection of the work of this plebeian who transformed the eternal city forever. Today, we have journeyed through the life of Marcus Vipsanius Agrippa, a man who did not allow his birth to limit him, who dedicated himself to the greatness of Rome, and who earned his place alongside Augustus. His loyalty and pragmatism made it possible to build an empire that influenced the world, and to think that it all began with an unlikely student friendship. If you enjoyed this journey through time and want more fascinating stories, subscribe to our channel, leave a like, and share this video with your friends. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video about ancient Rome and the Empire.